What's going on? So, today we got a little Bible study. Genesis chapter 27. Isaac blesses Jacob. This is per one of my subscribers' requests, so I'm excited to do this video. I know she's probably been waiting for a week or two now, and so I'm finally going to get at it. Now, this story is challenging. It's very disturbing in a sense, and I'll tell you guys why as we go. So let's go ahead and get started. This is the story of Isaac, Jacob, and Esau. It's titled Isaac Blesses Jacob. I'll give you guys some context real quick before we read. Basically, Isaac was going to bless Esau with the inheritance when he died, but Jacob deceived Isaac into blessing him instead and stole Esau's blessing. And so we're going to read how that unfolds. So, verse 1 reads, When Isaac was old and his eyes were dim so that he could not see, he called Esau, his older son, and said to him, My son. And he answered, Here I am. He said, Behold, I am old. I do not know the day of my death. Now then, take your weapons, your quiver and your bow, and go out to the field and hunt game for me, and prepare for me delicious food, such as I love, and bring it to me so that I may eat, that my soul may bless you before I die. So basically, what happens here is that Isaac wants to bless his son Esau. He says, I'm getting old and I'll probably die any day now. So go and hunt some game. Let's have a meal, and I'm going to bless you while we eat so that my soul may have pleasure in you. We're going to eat together. We're going to have a good time, and I'm going to bless you, and I'm going to give you the inheritance. So Esau says, Okay, father. And he goes out to hunt for the food. All right. Now let's keep going. Now, Rebekah, Isaac's wife, was listening when Isaac spoke to his son Esau. So when Esau went to the field to hunt for game and bring it, Rebekah said to her son, Jacob, I heard your father speak to your brother Esau. Bring me game and prepare for me delicious food that I may eat it and bless you before the Lord before I die. Now, therefore, my son, obey my voice as I command you. Go to the flock and bring me 2 good young goats, so that I may prepare from them delicious food for your father, such as he loves. And you shall bring it to your father to eat, so that he may bless you before he dies. But Jacob said to Rebekah his mother, Behold, my brother Esau is a hairy man, and I am a smooth man. Perhaps my father will feel me, and I shall seem to be mocking him, and bring a curse upon myself, and not a blessing. His mother said to him, Let your curse be upon me, my son. Only obey my voice, and go, bring them to me. All right, so Isaac's wife, this is terrible. Isaac's wife tells Jacob, their younger son, Hey, I want you to go and get some food real quick. I'm going to cook it for your father. We're going to make him think that he is you, and you're going to steal your brother's blessing. Jacob's response was not, Mom, that's wrong. I don't want to do that. Jacob's response shows the sinfulness of the human nature when he says, But Mom, what if I get caught? That's all he cared about. Not that he was going to betray his brother and deceive his father, but that he might get caught in doing so. That shows you the sinfulness of the human nature right there. And then Isaac's own wife plotting against him with his son shows you the sinfulness of the human nature. Against her other son shows you the sinfulness of the human nature. Let's keep on reading. So he went and took them and brought them to his mother, and his mother prepared delicious food, such as his father loved. Then Rebekah took the best garments of Esau, her older son, which were with her in the house, and put them on Jacob, her younger son. And the skins of the young goats she put on his hands and on the smooth part of his neck. And she put the delicious food and the bread, which she had prepared, into the hand of her son Jacob. So he went in to his father and said, My father. And he said, Here I am. Who are you, my son? In other words, which one are you? Jacob said to his father, I am Esau, your firstborn. I have done as you have told me. Now sit up and eat of my game, that your soul may bless me. But Isaac said to his son, How is it that you have found it so quickly, my son? He answered, Because the Lord your God granted me success. Then Isaac said to Jacob, Please come near, that I may feel you, my son, to know whether you are really my son Esau or not. So Jacob went near to Isaac his father, who felt him and said, The voice is Jacob's voice, but the hands are the hand of Esau. And he did not recognize him because his hands were hairy like his brother Esau's hands. So he blessed him. He said, Are you really my son Esau? He answered, I am. Then he said, Bring it near to me, that I may eat of my son's game and bless you. So he brought it near to him, and he ate. And he brought him wine, and he drank. Then his father Isaac said to him, Come near and kiss me, my son, which was a custom back then. It was not homosexual, as some people have tried to make it seem like. So he came near and kissed him. And Isaac smelled the smell of his garments and blessed him and said, See, the smell of my son is as the smell of a field that the Lord has blessed. May God give you of the dew of heaven and of the fatness of the earth and plenty of grain and wine. Let people serve you and nations bow down to you. Be Lord over your brothers, and may your mothers and sons bow down to you. Cursed be everyone who curses you, and blessed be everyone who blesses you. So he basically gave Isaac his inheritance, his blessings from God, and his authority. We keep reading. As soon as Isaac had finished blessing Jacob, As soon as Isaac had finished blessing Jacob, when Jacob had scarcely gone out of the presence of Isaac his father, Esau his brother came in from his hunting. He also prepared delicious food and brought it to his father. And he said to his father, Let my father arise and eat of his son's game, that you may bless me. His father Isaac said to him, Who are you? He answered, I am your son, your firstborn Esau. Then Isaac trembled very violently and said, Who was it then that hunted game and brought it to me, and I ate it all before you came, and I have blessed him? Yes, and he shall be blessed. As soon as Esau heard the words of his father, he cried out with an exceedingly great and bitter cry, and said to his father, Bless me, even me also, O my father. But he said, Your brother came deceitfully, and he has taken away your blessing. Esau said, Is he not rightly named Jacob? For he has cheated me these 2 times. Jacob means one who cheats. He took away my birthright, and behold, now he has taken away my blessing. Then he said, Have you not reserved a blessing for me? Isaac answered and said to Esau, Behold, I have made him lord over you, and all his brothers I have given to him for servants, and with grain and wine I have sustained him. What then can I do for you, my son? Esau said to his father, Have you but one blessing, my father? Bless me, even me also, O my father. And Esau lifted up his voice and wept. Then Isaac his father answered and said to him, Behold, away from the fatness of the earth shall your dwelling be, and away from the dew of heaven on high. By your sword you shall live, and you shall serve your brother. But when you grow restless, you shall break his yoke from your neck. Now Esau hated Jacob because of the blessing with which his father had blessed him. And Esau said to him, The days of mourning for my father are approaching. Then I will kill my brother Jacob. But the words of Esau, her oldest son, were told to Rebekah. So she sent and called Jacob, her younger son, and said to him, Behold, your brother Esau comforts himself about you by planning to kill you. Now therefore, my son, obey my voice. Arise, flee to Laban, my brother in Haran, and stay with him a while, until your brother's fury turns away, until your brother's anger turns away from you, and he forgets what you have done to him. Then I will send and bring you from there. Why should I be bereft of both of you in one day? Then Rebekah said to Isaac, I loathe my life because of the Hittite women. If Jacob marries one of the Hittite women like these, one of the women of the land, what good will my life be to me? Okay, so that is that chapter. Man. So recap. Isaac was going to bless Esau with the inheritance, with his status, his power, his authority, his resources. And then all of Esau's younger brothers were going to have to serve him. But it got flipped because Rebekah told Jacob to act like he was Esau and have his father Isaac bless him instead. So he did, unknowingly. Esau came in afterward and said, "Hey, I'm ready for the blessing, Dad." And Isaac is like, "Who was that earlier?" And then he said, "It was Jacob." He said, "Man," Esau says, "don't you have a blessing for me? Can't you still bless me even though you bless him too?" And Isaac is like, "No, I can't. I can't go back on my word. I've already gave him the blessing. Both of you can't be rulers over the same people, the same land. So it's a done deal. According to how the covenant is, according to our obligation to God. Once I bless you, I can't take it back." So it's unfortunate, but it's the rules. And so Jacob ends up missing out. I'm sorry, Esau ends up missing out on the blessing that Jacob ends up getting. So Jacob cheated his own brother. Then Esau is so mad at his brother that he is planning to kill him. And the mom she overhears it and she's like, "Son, just leave the land for a little while until your brother comes down, because I don't want to lose both of you in one day. I don't want you to kill each other." So that's basically what happened. It's a terrible story. It's a real story. It's history. Okay, this stuff really happened. Sorry. This stuff really happened. And so this is once again an account of the sinfulness of mankind. This story goes into a deeper context of um, the nation of Israel coming through Jacob. His name was later changed to Israel. And then Esau, him having his own nation, and that nation being at odds with Israel over the from generation to generation because of the initial hatred and animosity that was born because Jacob stole Esau's blessing. So their nations were also enemies, and God had to be faithful to Israel because God made his covenant with Israel. God gave Israel his promises of protection. And so when Esau's nation would come against Israel, God would have to protect Israel to the extent of being an enemy to Esau. And this shows God's faithful covenant love. That even though Jacob sinned and stole Esau's blessing, because of God's covenant, his covenantal love, he still remained faithful to Jacob and his lineage, his people, Israel. He still protected them, even from his own brother and his brother's nation. That shows God's faithful and loyal love, and that God is committed to his covenants. Okay, um, he's not gonna break it just because some things went down, and so it's a tough situation for sure. Romans 9 talks about how God's process of election takes place, and he uses Jacob and Esau as an example. Jacob have I loved, Esau have I hated. Um, and hate just means to reject. So, in essentially meaning that um, Esau was denied of the promises in the covenant because they were already given to Jacob. That's what the rejection is. And yeah, it just shows you. And it says in Romans 9, before Jacob and Esau had done anything good or bad, God had, had made his purposes of election to stand. And so, yeah, this kind of just really shines a light on it because, like I said, Jacob sinned to get the covenant, to get the blessings of God, the inheritance. And yet God still honored it because it wasn't based on who was good and who was bad. Esau, you can make an argument that Esau was good in this story, that he was the firstborn. He was doing what his dad told him to do. he essentially earned the right to have the inheritance, and he was being obedient, going out hunting for food and coming back. He really didn't do anything bad, for the most part in this story. So you can make an argument that Esau was the good one and Jacob was the bad one. Jacob cheated his own brother, lied to his father. And so you could say, how could God choose Jacob over Esau, right? But God's choice does not depend on our works and how good or bad we are, because in the eyes of God, we have all fallen short of his glory. None of us deserve to get anything from God. And so God can't make decisions based on whether or not we deserve something, because we don't deserve anything. So it's not even possible for God to make a decision based on that, um, to promise us things based on us deserving them. And so it's purely by his grace. And this story really magnifies that to the highest extent, makes you realize that that's what's going on here, you know. Now, you could also make an argument that Esau was not so good. And I venture to say that this is the case for all human beings, that we're not essentially good. We do many evil things. And so when God, promises us and loves us and blesses us with something, it's purely by his mercy and grace, not because of any merit that we have. Esau, you see his sinfulness in that when this happened, Esau had it in his heart to murder his own brother, just like Cain murdered Abel earlier in Genesis, which is like the first major sin, from human to human. Um, and so, yeah, so you can make a case that neither one of them was truly good, right? Neither one of them deserved the inheritance. Yet God is so gracious and merciful that he made a covenant with someone who didn't deserve it. And thank God he did, because that covenant ultimately led to Jesus Christ coming into the world, being the Savior of the world. And so, yeah, man, it's just God's ways are beyond finding out, unsearchable, and he's so wise, and we just have to trust his plan and his sovereign will. So yeah, that's the chapter, man. I hope my breakdown was decent. I hope I reflected some of the things that you may have been thinking, or even struggling with, and I talked about some of the disturbing parts about this, like Rebecca, like what was going on with her. She was being so messy, so deceitful. What was going on with her? It's the flesh. It's sin. That's what sin looks like. It's ugly. It's ugly. So yeah. All right. That's Genesis 27. I enjoy reading it. When I first read it, I had to wrestle with it for a long time. But yeah, I love you guys, and y'all have an awesome day.